first time we've spoken since you re-signed. I mean, could you just, I guess, go into your thought process? And Sean Marks had mentioned that you may have said to him something along the lines of, hey, there's unfinished business here that we didn't complete or that I didn't complete. Could you also touch on, I guess, the general parameters of that conversation and that feeling that there's more business out there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think I was pretty vocal. Like my time in Brooklyn, loved my time in Brooklyn, and from top to bottom, from Joe Tsai all the way down to our staff, our performance staff, whatever it is, the support staff. I think they just do everything the right way. So that was a big thing for me, and weighing my decision on, going a different direction, but having that experience and knowing what kind of people I'm you're working with is huge. So it was a no-brainer for me. And in terms of that was the conversation, is like, we as a team felt like we obviously didn't accomplish what we wanted. You could say injuries, but every team had injuries, so we feel like there's definitely unfinished business. There's something bigger that we want to achieve, and I still want to be a part of that.
Christian Winfield, New York Daily News.
Hey, what's going on, Blake? Two questions here for you. One, can you just talk to us about your summer and what you've been up to, and are you at the point right now in your career where you're still trying to add new things to your game, or are you at the point where it's just what you're bringing in, now it's just maintenance?
It's a little bit of both. I don't want to say I hope I never stop trying to add something new, but knowing where I'm going to be, knowing the system a little bit better, and knowing sort of how I fit into this team, just sort of focusing on that more. So a lot of space in the floor, a lot of catch and shoots, a lot of pick and pop, making decisions off a roll, off of somebody getting doubled off of pick and like a high pick and roll. So really sort of tailoring my workouts to what I expect to be doing this season. And on top of that, maintenance as well. It's just, I can't explain how big it is to, have a summer where, you finish the season and you take a couple of weeks off and you're right back working out. You're not having to rehab. You're not having to do all these things. I haven't had that. The last time I had that was the summer of 2018. 17. Going into the 18-19 season. So, I'm just so thankful for that, and the time I've been able to spend on my body and also my game. Sorry, I forgot the second question.
No, I was about to ask the second one now. In terms of coming back and the decision to come back, was it a difficult decision at all, in that maybe there were more offers out there that were tempting? We saw Jeff leave Brooklyn to go to Denver. Were there other offers like that for you out there, and you just had to make the decision to stay?
Yeah, there were, but like I said, it's especially with talking to guys who have sort of, I had a conversation with Jeff, and I talked to other guys, guys who have sort of been in different situations and not necessarily been in the same spot multiple years. It's always sometimes, I don't want to say a guessing game, because you can kind of get a pretty good feel for how teams are going to work, but you never know in the situation, and this was a situation that I was comfortable in. So, a lot of those other offers didn't necessarily, just going to make more money or going to a new spot for maybe a bigger role wasn't really the thing. It's like I said earlier, it's a thing where I know this situation. I know what I can do with this team. I know my role with this team, and we still kind of left the season with sort of a bad taste in our mouths.
Alex Schiffer, The Athletic.
Hey, Blake, good to see you. Sorry if this was already asked. I jumped on a little late, but, some of the new additions, Patty Mills, James Johnson, DeAndre Bembry, you've been in the league a long time and played alongside a lot of these guys, or against them. Just can you kind of speak to what they add from your perspective to you guys?
Yeah, obviously Patty adds just dynamic shooting, and that's always a need for us, but also just a veteran point guard who, playing against him, it seems like he's always like that guy that comes up with a big play, makes a big play, defense, offense, whatever it is, hits a big shot. But he's also a guy that can facilitate and get into the teeth of defense, makes the right decisions. Just a really good basketball player. I think people saw that in the Olympics if they watched. James Johnson, one of those guys, same draft class. I've known him forever and played against him forever. He's just one of those guys that just like fills gaps. I mean, he's also a great player, but athletic, can play defense, can guard multiple positions. He's tough, and he brings sort of that mentality that I think we need. And you kind of go on down the list of guys. I thought Sean just did a great job, and our whole front office did a great job of targeting exactly what we need and going and getting it.
Greg Logan, Newsday.
Hi, Blake. You mentioned how comfortable you are within the organization. And Sean said that the thing people don't see is what you do behind the scenes in the locker room. Can you just go into a little bit of why you got so comfortable with this organization and what kind of relationships you developed in particular with the big three, KD, Kyrie, and James?
Yeah, I mean, I think just over the years, you become more and more comfortable, sort of stepping. It was a little bit weird for me this year, just coming into a season in March, when the team's been together. I know they had a lot of people coming in and out, but, you sort of have that feeling out process. So, once I felt like I kind of understood the dynamic of the team, I feel like I could sort of use my voice a little bit more. But, I mean, this year I'll hope to do that even more, being there from the beginning and so much is put on our big three, KD and James and Kai, on the court, obviously off the court, that sometimes you just need somebody else to be there to speak up and say something. You don't always want to have Coach Nash to have to say something, drill something into our heads every time, or the big three, because they're sort of expected to do that. So sometimes it's nice. I thought Jeff Green was sort of that for the team last year. I thought he did a great job of picking his spots and being that guy that speaks up, and that's something I hope to be able to help out with this year.
Malika Andrews, ESPN.
Hey, Blake. I'm just wondering, when you came to Brooklyn, did you envision yourself re-signing, or was it over the course of your time in Brooklyn, something happened, or you built something, or, that bad taste that it made it feel like, okay, now this is why I need to come back?
I didn't put a lot of thought when I first signed in Brooklyn. I didn't put a lot of thought into what was going to happen next year. My focus was last season, the end of last season. Over the course of my time there, you like I said before, like you realize what type of organization it is from top to bottom. And, again, also like that unfinished business thing. But, for me, when I first got there, it was just such a new situation for me. I'd never really been in a situation like that. So it was really just about getting on the ground, getting acclimated and meshing with the team.
David Shinalato, Gazzetta dello Sport.
Hi, Blake. You say there's some unfinished business for you and the team. I'm curious if you think you have what it takes to finish that business next year.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do, a lot of work to be done. Can't take anything for granted. But I like our team. I like the guys we have. I like our coaching staff. I like everything that we've put together. So, I believe in us.
Back to Christian Winfield.
Hey, Blake, I'm wondering if you have had much time to watch Summer League and if you've seen some of the rookies that you guys drafted play, specifically Cam and Day'Ron, what you made out of their games.
I didn't get to catch the game yesterday, but I've seen clips. I watched clips on after the draft, and love what they bring to the table. Heard a lot of great things about both of them. So I'm excited. It's always nice to have those young guys in there and get them in the mix and see what they have to offer. So I'm excited to get to know them and lace it up with them.
Alex Schiffer.
Like, I just wanted to ask you about Kevin signing the extension. Sean said yesterday he expects James and Kyrie to also be locked up by the start or extended by the start of training camp. Just what does it say about them, especially in an era where superstars tend to maybe sign shorter term deals and reevaluate after a few years, for them to kind of be locked up long term going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's comforting to know, that a guy of that caliber is locked in, and those guys in general, when that happens, Katie's kind of like that piece that brought everything together. Him and Kai coming here, and then getting James here, and you saw. I think people were reminded, because it's always kind of like, what have you done lately? And with him sitting out the year before, you kind of always hear people talk about other guys, and you sort of hear, I wouldn't call it slander, but people sort of forget just how good of a player he is. And you saw that in the playoffs, and you're reminded of that. So anytime you have a guy of that caliber, committing to a team like that, it helps everything go.
Matt Brooks, Nets Daily.
Blake, you said you've talked to a couple of other teams. If you don't mind me asking, what teams did you speak to just over free agency?
Honestly, man, it's really, I'm really here to talk about Brooklyn, not really anything else. What my decisions were, or anything like that.
Jolly Brown, Nets Wire.
Hey Blake. What's up? So it was one thing losing to the Bucks in the second round, but did any of your thoughts change after they won the championship? Like seeing them have to go through 7 games?
Did they change how so? What do you mean?
Just the chances that that you guys could have been in that position. Did any of that?
Yeah, I mean, when that series started, I in my mind that was kind of like that was a good look at I would say who was going to be in the finals, and then possibly win. I mean, I thought they were matched up with us pretty well. Obviously not being at full strength hurt us, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, watching us take them to 7 games and being banged up. And then, after that, I don't want to say that they didn't necessarily handle everybody easily, but, 1 in 6 games, Giannis got hurt in the next series, 1 in 6 games, and ran 4 straight on the Suns. So it's always tough. I mean, you always kind of sit there and think man, if we just, did this one extra thing. But that happens every season. You get to the playoffs and you get the 3rd seed over the 2 seed, and you're like, man, if we had just beat this team. So it's just more motivation to come back and be more focused, pay more attention to detail, and get another crack at it.
Last question, we'll go back to Alex Schiffer.
Hey, Blake, kind of going off all that, have you paid attention much to some of the other teams and what they've done in the offseason, whether that's, Kyle Lowry going to Miami or everyone the Lakers had, and kind of how you guys stack up with them, or that's a problem for another day and you've kind of stuck to what you've been up to?
Yeah, I mean, you pay attention, and Miami's done a great job. Obviously, the Lakers have made, a lot of noise. Boston made some – every team's obviously made some changes. So you look at it, but, at the end of the day, things on paper is tough to say. I've been in situations where a team stacks up and you think, man, they're going to be tough, and then it just doesn't work out. So you think about it, but right now it's kind of wasted energy to really put too much thought into it. Kind of want to see teams, as they start their preseason, as they start the season, and even in that case, there's teams that have had an awful first 20 games of the season. You're like, man, they might not be very good, and then they turn it on, or vice versa. So you kind of take it as it goes, I guess.